4,500,000 students from 25 different countries participated in an international mathematics Olympiad. There were 171 Indian students who received awards. Now you notice there is a word play in terms of the 4,500,000 students. So we need to take cognizance of this and keep that in mind when we're actually writing down that number to see if we'll need it in working out this problem. Reading further, we can see that we've given winning prize monies there and the amounts are indicated in rupees. And when we come down to the note, we see that the rupees is the symbol for Indian rupees, the RS, so that gives us better clarity. And then there is a exchange rate given to us which we must make note of because we will obviously use this information in answering these questions. Vijay stated that the probability as a percentage of randomly choosing an Indian student that received an award out of the total number of students was less than 0.004%. Determine showing all calculations if his statement is correct. Now if you remember from our information we just read, we see that Vijay spoke of Indian students. Now he wants to know the amount of Indian students as compared to the entire amount of students. So where do we get this information from? Right at the top paragraph, you see there were 171 Indian students mentioned. Once we have this amount, we need to know the total amount of students. Now right at the top, it started off with 4,500,000 students. Now this doesn't sound like a number that we could work with, but if we break it down, and I've broken it down in the yellow box there, you find there 45 I've written down, and 100 would be 2 zeros and 1000 would be 3 zeros. And if you look at it, I've rewritten it into a number which we could work with, and we know from number formats we'd arrive at 4,500,000, and this is the number we will be working with in terms of the total amount of students. So taking 171, dividing it by 4,500,000 and multiplying by 100%, because remember they spoke about percentage probability, and then we'd get an amount of approximately 0.0038. And obviously comparing this to what Vijay spoke of, he spoke of it being less than 0.004%. Now obviously you can see clearly that the number is smaller than 0.04%, and remember, always put your justification. Justification means whether you agree or not to what the person said. So sometimes when they ask you to verify if a person is right or wrong, you need to put a sentence at the bottom to say he is correct or he is incorrect, or it is valid or invalid. And this is very important because you are awarded a mark for putting that information there. Determine the difference in South African rand between the amounts received for first position and third position. Now it's important that you remember that you need to do three things in this particular question. Firstly, you need to find out the South African rand. You need to do the exchange rate for the first position amount, the third position amount, that's step 2, and step 3 would be the difference between these two numbers. So it's important that when you're doing this in the exams, you don't rush and forget the step. So even if it means highlighting or at the beginning writing the steps that you need to do, it's important that you just highlight these 3 steps, that to say that you fulfill this particular question in its entirety. But keeping in mind there should be a faster way in which we could do this, and considering the fact that you're writing exams, so we need to work with faster methods. And for me, the fastest and most easiest method would be to take the 50,000 rupees and you subtract it from the 10,000 rupees. So in doing this, you've already got your difference, and all you need to do now is take that difference and convert it into rands, and you fulfill the question as required. So keeping the difference of 40,000 in mind, I now take that 40,000 and convert it to US dollars and thereafter to rands. So there's my steps using the cross multiplication method. So I start off with always with what's given. Now what's given to me is the US dollar to Indian rupees exchange rate, and that information was under the note at the bottom. You can see it on your left hand side. So I write that down in its respective headings, and thereafter I write down the 40,000 under Indian rupees, and I place the X there, which is my unknown. I cross multiply, as you can see in the next step. When I cross multiply, I'm left with 63,41x is equal to 40,000. So I'll solve for my X as I did in grade 9 work, solving of equations, and I arrive at 630,8153. Right. Now remember, this answer here, I've put the currency in front of there, so you remember that it's US dollars. Now this doesn't fulfill what the question wants of us. So I take this now and work with it in order to change it to rands. So where do I have the exchange rate for rands and US dollars? If you look at the note right at the bottom, the last current exchange rates given, it's 1 South African rand is equal to 0,081 US dollars. So I write my two headings down, which is the US dollar and the rands, and I put my given information first, and then I take the 630,8153. I've left it in 4 decimal places because I know I will only bring it to 2 decimal places right at the end. So cross multiplying, I'm left with 0,081. X is equal to 630, and then I solve for the X. Once I solve for X, I'm left with 7787,84 rands. And remember, I've rounded off to 2 decimal places because this is money, and for me this is the most easiest comfortable method that works. But I've also included in the next slide the various steps in which you could look at and see which is best for you, but I prefer this, and it's most easiest and comfortable to work with. Now looking at this information, you see in the first steps given to you, this is basically what I've explained to you on the previous slide, and you can see that they've used the difference and converted that. In the next method, what they've basically done is taken the 50,000 and converted that into rands, and they have to taken the 10,000, converted that, and then worked out the difference, which we have spoken of. And then lastly, what they've done is, instead of taking the first exchange rate given to you, which is the 1 US dollar is equal to, they've worked with the 1 South African rand is equal to 0,081 US dollars. So you could pause the video and look at these methods and see which best works for you, but in terms of the method I used, I generally inform my learners regarding that method. Currently, banknotes in India are issued in the following denominations, and you've given the various denominations there. And it further states Vijay bought a tablet worth 2,440 rupees. He paid for it with 2,000 rupees banknotes. He stated that he would receive a minimum of 6 notes as change. Verify whether his statement is valid. Remember, verify. This means that you need to indicate whether you agree or disagree, or whether what he's saying is correct or incorrect. Firstly, we need to determine what change we are receiving. So we know that he's given 2 times 2,000 rupees to the person, notes, and this obviously is 4,000 rupees, and the item costs 2,440. So subtracting these both numbers, and we arrive at 1,560 rupees. So the idea here is to just use the various denominations given to us. As you can see, I've put it there before you, and we choose these denominations in order to arrive at 1,560. So we've taken 500 rupees. We've got 1,500, we've taken 150 and 110, and this gives us 1,560. Adding the amount of notes we've used, we see that it's 5, so therefore it's not valid, and 5 is the minimum.